Hello, Brent Porsey, TopVelocity.net, and I want to thank you for signing up for this 3-part series on 30 days to a top prospect player profile. We're going to give you, or I'm going to give you tips in these 3 days. Basically, you're going to get a video today, you're going to get a video tomorrow, and you're going to get a video the next day. And I'm going to give you critical tips that are going to have a significant impact on getting you to that top prospect level on a player profile, which is, we know, critically important to increasing our value of playing at the next level. All right, so what we're going to cover in these tips are going to be, in the first video, it's going to be purely throwing velocity for position players. If we look at player profiles, that's the majority of the measurements on a player profile is throwing velocity from positions. We are going to cover that in this video today. The next video, we're going to go into a big part of player profiles, but it's one basically parameter, and that's going to be our 60-yard sprint. We're going to address the technical aspects of improving on a 60-yard sprint. Then on day 3, we're going to go into performance enhancement, because the way this works, and if you're going to develop or work within an effective program to helping you improve these measurements on a player profile, like we do with the 2X Velocity program, you have to have both your mechanics or your technical training of mechanics or biomechanics, and then you've got to have your strength and conditioning or your power conditioning training, which is going to be your performance enhancement. If it's not enough just to be really powerful and very explosive, and then it's not enough just to be very mechanically sound, we have to have a combination of both. Of course, the better we are on both sides, the better we are as an athlete, the better we are as a baseball player. So we're going to give you the basics of that in these 3 videos for free, so you can start today improving these player profiles and watching you come closer to your potential as a top-level baseball player. All right, so today, let's get started. We're going to go into velocity for position players. So we're purely going to focus on getting as much ball speed or as much force in the arm to generate as much ball speed as we can. Now, let's get at the end of this, I will touch pop times for catchers, because even though catchers are recorded by their throwing velocity, they're also recorded on how quick they get rid of that ball. But we don't have those measurements anywhere else. So we're not going to address that to the end for catchers. So let's start off here with outfielders. Outfielders and of course infielders. Outfielders, this is more something that you're used to. You're used to putting in these kind of mechanics. Infielders aren't, because you get stuck trying to make quicker throws. You got to understand, on the infield, if they are recording you for your throwing velocity, you got to come out with a hard throw. I think that's more important than just sitting there trying to get rid of the ball as quickly as you can. Yeah, they're looking at that, so ultimately you need to show them a combination of both, but we're not going to address that today. We addressed that in the 2X Velocity programs, but today, just purely velocity, and then with catchers, we'll go into pop times. So, where most low velocity position players go wrong is in the feet work. The feet are so important to the whole entire movement because it's a kinetic chain. The feet, ankles connect to the knee connects to the shoulders. It's a kinetic chain. We build force from the ground up. So if we get the feet working and we know how to generate force through the feet, then we potentially can put more force in our arm and then into this ball. So that's the approach here. I'm going to give you some basic things to work with. Of course, I'm not going to go as in depth as we do with the 2X Velocity program. Just some basics that will help you get started and really, really get you improving and seeing results in this kind of really, really effective approach. All right, so here's the feet work. We're going to start, let's look at an outfielder because it will make more sense from the outfield. Let's look at an outfielder. Tend to have higher ball speeds in the outfield because you have the time to make a hard throw. You tend to get more of a benefit from making a harder throw and taking a little bit extra time. You don't get that benefit on the infield, so this tends to be more common of an outfielder. So where we're going to start is, we're going to start in learning what's called a drive shuffle step. A drive shuffle step allows us to generate as much power early and then organize that into front foot, and then we'll learn how to get that into the ball. So the step goes like this. Just visualize an outfielder about to catch the ball. He's about to catch the ball, and right before he catches it, he goes into a drive step. Initial, aggressive launch of momentum. You will get the majority of your power out of that drive, and we have to. Now here's the catch. If we get too much, sometimes we can't organize it. So that's the thing here. We do want a lot of power, but after that we have to organize it. If we can't organize it, it's a waste. That's when you come out of the outfield and literally come in so fast you do a backflip after you throw it, and you just didn't feel like you converted. It's like, man, I had all this momentum, I didn't feel it convert, and that's because it was too much to control. So you're going to have to find what you can handle, and you're going to ultimately push it as far as you can go. And after that, it really comes down to the better athlete can handle more momentum in the front foot. All right, so that drive step is where we're going to get the majority of our force. Now, if this is that alone will have a big impact on someone who's working from a position, and that's been going into a throw on the ground or up, going into a throw with no momentum and just trying to whip the arm and use the arm to generate the force. That's going to be less effective. That's why potentially an outfielder can throw harder than a pitcher, because he has the extra steps to put more momentum into it that a pitcher doesn't have. Even though he has an incline, it's not as effective as in adding in those extra steps. So if you're someone who hasn't been using a drive step, this will have a profound effect on your throwing velocity. You significantly will see a jump just in learning this feet work. Also, it's going to protect your arm. Someone who doesn't use momentum in their drive steps and just whips their arm, forces their arm to take more of the load and puts the arm in positions are less efficient because it's having to focus on force production and not precision at that point. So this is going to protect those guys as well. So this is as much helping you increase velocity, also protecting your arm at the same time. All right, so drive step. So just practice that. This is something you can practice. Just do it with, say, a pop-up. Right before you catch it, you start your drive. It's right before you catch it. Mainly, we want to start it with a little bit of a lateral position where you're starting to turn sideways, because we're going to organize our throws completely sideways to our target. That helps us get a little more hip rotation into it. All right, so after that drive step, boom, we're going to then shuffle the feet, pull the feet together, and we're going to step behind with that drive leg and plant it into the ground. We've got to really plant it in the ground. If we don't plant it in the ground and we just keep going forward, we're not going to organize this. It has to be planted in the ground. Now, do not stop your momentum. At the same time you're planting this foot in the ground, your hips should still be moving forward. So the hips are doing this, and the foot's planted in the ground. Now from there, it's all organizational. So that means it gets very technical. So pay attention. So once you plant that foot into the ground, the hips keep moving. The hips will move forward. The force vector, which is our ankle to knee. That line from our ankle to knee is our force vector. Wherever that's pointing, that's where our forces go. We've got to keep that following the hip. So we plant, hips keep going, force vector starts following that hip. So it looks like this. Okay, would be off the ground. This foot would be off the ground. And you can see that force vector following that hip, and then we're still closed at this point. Now we're just looking at the feet. I'm not worried about anything else right now. Drive, step, plant, hips keep going, force vector keeps following, and then from there we're closed. We're gonna create our movement into front foot, which is going to be trigger hip rotation by opening the foot, power hip rotation by kicking the back foot. See that kick, that ankle kick, we call that 2X. 2X, because that's an ankle extension and hip flexor extension. That's a double extension, or 2X in the front foot. Boom! What that'll do is that'll take all that momentum, drive, through the drive, shuffle, plant, 2X, and put it into front foot with the hips going forward. That's what we want. We want to take all that momentum, put it into front foot with the hips going forward. So lock this guy down, extend it, squeeze the butt, slam the hips open. All right, so there's some work we'll do right there. That'll be our first little drill. I want you to do as many reps as it takes to perfect this in this little drill. Drive, so you go drive, shuffle, plant, keep the hips going, trigger hip rotation, power hip rotation. So that was it slow. I'll do it in full speed. Boom. Boom. I want to get to the point where that just feels so natural to you. Boom, okay? Perfect that. And you got to understand, reps are what programs it as muscle memory. You have to do enough to where it's programmed in where you're not having to consciously do it. That means it might take you 300 reps. It might take you 30,000. I really believe it's based on how good of an athlete you are. Those who are less athletic will have to take more reps so that becomes muscle memory. Get that to muscle memory. Now, we haven't worked on the arms. What do the arms do? The arms are waiting for this point right here. They're waiting for that. Once you hit front foot, our shoulders need to still be closed. We should have been breaking our hands before that. But once this happened, we have to get to here. We have to cock that ball. Right when this lands, this has to be up. Actually, a little bit earlier. So just right, the point is right as this is going down, this guy better be up and ready to go. All right, from that point. If it's too late or if it's too early, that's going to be a problem. The timing is just when it lands. I need it there. Okay? Also, we need to keep this arm flexed. The whole time, we need to keep it flexed. It moves faster flexed. If it gets long on me, it's going to slow everything down. It's got to be flexed. All right, so you can practice things in the mirror where you're just breaking your hands, throwing the elbow up and back, and then externally rotating up. And then you can practice where you do that last little trigger hip rotation, power hip rotation, and you throw that arm up. This would be a ton of reps I need right there. That's 2x separation. Big part of our 2x velocity program. 2x separation. Boom, boom, boom. Hips going forward, shoulders staying back. We call that the counter movement. The hips are going forward, shoulders countering back. That's what makes you an elite athlete. If you can learn and develop the counter movement in any sport, you will become an elite athlete. Related to hitting. Counter movement in hitting is hips going forward, arms loading back. That initial load puts more back force into the arms and generates more back speed. Same thing. So do your reps. Start in a lateral position, trigger hip rotation, power hip rotation, cock it front foot. All right. Now we've got the hand or where the arms need to be at front foot. Now we have to finish up. So once we hit front foot in the cock position, optimal hip to shoulder separation. This is lining up our target. From here, we just turn this over, take our chest to our target, and lay our arm back into full external rotation. Elbow needs to be above shoulder height to protect the elbow. And then from there, we just pop into internal rotation. So you can sit feet straight, shoulders closed, or hips open, shoulders closed, and you can practice this motion. And then you can throw. Okay, and it should feel pretty smooth, pretty quick. Now we got to put it all together. Let me grab another ball. Now we got to put it all together. So practice, put enough reps in each little piece, enough to where it feels like muscle memory, then put it together. The worst thing you do is rush this and try to put it together when you haven't implemented the motor coordination in each little piece. And then it looks like this. All right, hope I didn't go out of frame now and try it again. Go farther back. Looks like this. A little late on my arm there. Arm's got to get up quick, and we've got to separate. All right, so that covers our drive shuffle step. That's going to give you the most potential to generate as much ball speed. You can work that from the infield. Okay, of course, you just saw that from the outfield. From the infield, right as you're about to field that ball, make sure you're moving. And right as you're about to field that ball, you start your drive step. Right as you're about to get it, drive step and then go. So practice from the ground. Drive step and then go. Okay, that drive step is what gives you the potential to generate a lot of ball speed as long as you can organize it. And it's because you've developed the muscle memory around these movements. All right, that's a big tip for you, or more than that, a big setup for you to really jump up those throwing velocity from positions in your player profiles. Now let's go to catchers with pop times. Catchers, we've got to combine the drive shuffle step. Okay, so what we're going to do from our position where we're receiving the ball, we want the landing leg slightly in front, because from here we've got to turn, right? We've got to turn these shoulders, because then we can separate. All high velocity position players separate their hips and shoulders. If we stay here, we don't separate. So we're more arm. Once we separate, we accelerate our forces, we multiply our forces through some core torque, and we can potentially get a drive loading our arm before it goes. That's key. That is such, if you're a guy who's trying to throw with not a lot of closing your shoulders, and then you go to a guy who learns how to close his shoulders and drive into that and separate, it's a 10, 15, 20 mile an hour jump depending on where you were. It's really, really a big, big change for you, and it's going to put you into that top prospect level. All right, so you're going to start with the landing leg slightly forward. You're going to receive the ball. Now, when you receive the ball, catchers, when you combine the drive shuffle step, the challenge is you have to get here faster, because the drive shuffle step is so quick. If this thing isn't up, if that thing's not up, then you're going to have to get it up, and it slows everything down. So the quicker you are to here, wham, in that same position, the better you will be able to transfer those forces. Let's get the feet work first. So what happens in a drive shuffle step, in a combination, is we're going to drive and shuffle at the same time. And it's from a linear position to a lateral position. But if you just do a little switcheroo of the feet, you're standing straight up, you're not going to feel any force in your body, and then your arm's going to have to make up for it. You know, sometimes you can be very quick that way. I'll see guys with really quick pop times and low velocity. And those are guys that are just basically just standing up and just whipping their arms and getting rid of it really fast. I would rather see you have a good pop time with a lot of ball speed, because to me, that to me is more valuable. If I see a catcher with a 1.8 pop time and a 75 mile an hour ball speed, and then a catcher with a 1.8 pop time and an 85 mile an hour ball speed, that's a better catcher, a more valuable catcher to me, okay? He's also, to me, that tells me he's got more power, and he'll be a better hitter as well. So let's get the ball speed in it. So don't just switch your feet. Let's push a little force forward. So if the hitter's, here, let's get up over the plate, or the side of the plate, but get out here. Plus, we're getting closer to the runner. So don't just sit back here and throw. Let's basically drive. Keep this foot, the landing foot down when you drive. So drive and let your hips start to come forward, and then pick this foot up and switch your feet. And then we've got to secure and plant that down, because now we're where we were with the drive shuffle step, which from here we're going to go trigger, hip rotation, power, hip rotation, and then we're going to cock that arm and throw. Boom. So this would be a catcher. You could work on this first. You could work on your drive shuffle step. Maybe draw a line out there saying, 4 feet out. I want to get out there with a lot of force, and not like I'm jumping, but with a lot of force. Whoo! I don't want to catch myself just sitting back here and standing up and throwing. I want to get up with some force and get going. All right, so that would be your drill right there, working on this move. Act like you're receiving the ball. Boom! Feel force like you're pushing through the ground. Feel all that force in your feet, because we need that force production. From there, you can work just like we did the drive shuffle step. Trigger, hip rotation, power, hip rotation, right there. Squeeze the butt. The butt really helps us continue to get the hips through, right there. Boom. And then you can put the arms into it. Okay, then you put the arms into it. Boom. Boom. And that's where I was talking about. We have to get that as quick as we can into that cock position, because we're ready to go. So the best way to be quick into that cock position is when you catch that ball, bring it up, bring it here, so we're right there. Don't catch that ball and leave it down here. That's why a catcher makes a slower throw when it's across his body, because it takes him longer to get up. So stick that ball, boom, boom, bring it up, put some force, boom, into here, drive and separate, and then in turn rotate and throw. All All right, so I'll do a throw for you here. Go again. See, I'm a little slow getting it up. Got to get up quicker. Okay, I'm focused on your separation. Sometimes you want to be quick, and you get here, and you're already up and going. Then your feet are now moving slower in your upper body. That's good. You got quick here, now you got to get your feet going quicker with more force. That was better. So don't lose that separation. That hip to shoulder separation for outfielders, catchers, infielders, anyone is critical to arm speed. It's critical to ball speed. But if you don't have the feet work, then you're not putting the force into your front foot, and you're not organizing it to move it into separation and then to ball speed. All right, so that is your first video on throwing velocity, on pop times. Work those drills, put the reps in between those, and watch what happens when you get those radar guns out. You'll be impressed. Also, when you time those pop times for catchers. All right, so I'm excited to hear what you think. Post comments down there. Tell me what you think. Tell me ask any questions, concerns, whatever. Want to hear it down there. I want to hear guys having a lot of success with it too. Anyone, it'd be great to hear what's going on down there. And tomorrow, get ready for the next series or the next one on the 60-yard sprint.